yung topic natin last time is just the continuation of Cartesian vector. This is a part 2, okay? So I divided this topic into three parts, okay? First is the introduction to Cartesian vector. The second part is Cartesian vector using transverse and azimuth. And yung last part will be Cartesian vectors using position vector. Now, as I said, so yung first part and the second part are almost just the same, okay? So our goal is always to construct an equation into a Cartesian form, okay? Cartesian vector form. So there are so many given that will be used to construct, okay, to form an Cartesian vector. Pwedeng ang given is the magnitude of the vector, the magnitude only of the vector, and the directional angles. So that will be the first part, okay? And from this, as you construct, okay, as you construct your Cartesian vector, you can determine the magnitude of the vector, the unit vector of this vector itself, okay, the unit vector of this vector A, and also their components, okay, and also their components. So marami kayong pwedeng makuhang sagot from that single form, okay, that single equation. And in some cases, hindi nga ganito binibigay, hindi alpha, beta, and gamma ang laging binibigay. It can be either a transverse angle, this is a transverse angle, or the azimuth angle. And in some cases, pwede rin ang ibigay will be the slope of that. For example, this one, ang example nitong aking alpha, beta, and gamma will be this one. Okay, so unknown si alpha, given si beta, and given din si gamma. So you know how to solve this one. And also, this is a type of problem that has a transverse angle, so that is the 60 degrees, and the azimuth angle that is 45 degrees. And for this third picture, this one naman, 45 degrees si azimuth angle, 45 degrees, and kailangan nyo isolve si transverse angle, which is a slope, okay? So that is, the hypotenuse is 5, the adjacent is 4, and the other side is 3, so you can get that the angle of this is roughly 36 something, okay? So you can solve that one, okay? Depende, okay? So, if you can also use, it's either, pwede kayong mamili, so, towa, okay? Depende kung anong gagamitin nyo, okay? And maliban pala sa angle, of course, okay, kasi may nagtanong dito sa aking klase, ma'am ba, pag angle lang ba makakasolve kayo? No, okay? Dapat, pag may angle, given din ang magnitude. Okay? So, dapat mabuo nyo yung alpha, beta, and gamma, okay? And the magnitude. So, dapat apat na yung given para makapag-solve tayo ng Cartesian vector. So, yun yung isa sa question na siguro hindi ko nasabi sa video clearly, pero dapat apat yung given nyo, a magnitude, the alpha, beta, and gamma. Okay? So, that will be the case. Now, let's answer this one. Okay, yung pinakamadali dito will be F2, of course. So, if a vector is truly lying only in one axis, definitely, kahit hindi na natin gumamit tayo ng simple formula ng Cartesian vector, yung pinaka-general form lang, so kung natatandaan yung general form natin, a vector A has a magnitude of A and its unit vector, that is for single vector, and this is also the pattern for the general vectors, okay? So since our F2, unahin natin muna si F2, since its F2 is on Z, so definitely the answer for F2 will be, what will be the answer for F2 here? Anong direction niya? Hello?
Negative K.
Okay, the direction is negative K, so I will put here the negative, and that will be K hat. So, yun yung kanyang unit vector, okay? And the magnitude is 130 pounds, so that is 130 pounds. So, ganun lang yung ating F2. It will be easy if it's just lying down on axis. But for F1, okay, ang unang-una nating i-identify is nasaang position si F1. Okay, so that is positive X, that will be negative ang Y, and positive ang z. So, yun yung una nating hahanapin. So, definitely, if it's positive x, negative y, and positive z, you will have the view of what should be the value of its alpha, beta, and gamma. Okay? So, let's go to step 1. So, sa tingin nyo, if I have a transverse and the azimuth angle, will be the formula to solve the Cartesian vector. Am I going to solve alpha, beta, and gamma?
Pwede po, ma'am.
Pwede. Okay, pwede rin namang hindi. Pwedeng iba-ibang solution natin pero dapat we will come up with the same answer. So, ang gagawin natin will be, I will just form, okay? I will give you first the general form for F1, which is F1 is equal to, you know, that the component of F1 along X is Fx I hat plus Fy j hat plus Fz k hat. Okay? So, you know that one. Okay? So, ang hanapin lang natin will be what will be the components of Fx, Fy, and Fz. Okay? Now, remember, this one, kung titingnan nyo to, okay, tingnan muna natin to ha. This is 30 degrees. This is the azimuth angle. This side of that is what we call Fz. Okay, FC yan kasi parallel siya to the axis of Z. Okay, so that is FC. So, if I have 30 degrees and I know the hypotenuse, the magnitude of the hypotenuse, and I'm looking for FC, can I directly solve FC using 30 degrees, the magnitude 80, and the FC? Pwede ba?
Yes po.
Yes po,
Yes,
ma'am.
okay. So, I don't need alpha, beta, and gamma. I will directly solve it, okay? So, ang gagawin ko lang, since this is Fc ang kailangan ko, ang gagamitin ko ay opposite. So, ang given is opposite, so sine, okay? So, that will be sine 30 degrees is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So, that will be, what is the opposite? So, that is Fc
FJ,
over
F1.
F1. Okay? Actually, dapat may F1Z yan, pero hindi ko na lang nilagay. So, ang kailangan natin i-solve si Fc. Okay? Fc. So, F1Z. So, F1Z is equal to F1, then sine 30 degrees. Okay? So, therefore, meron na tayong Fz agad. So, that will be 80 pound. 80 pounds sine 30 degrees. What will be the answer of F1Z?
40 pound.
40 pound. Okay, so meron na tayo. Check na natin si Fz. We know at Fz. Now, ang problema naman natin, ang susunod natin will be Fx and Fy. So, since this is our vector F1, this is the Fx. Ito yung Fx niya. Kung saan siya parallel, yun yung kanyang pangalan. This part is parallel to x-axis, so that is Fx. Now, if you will look here, since this is a right triangle, this one is also Fy. Parallel siya kay Fy, so I can say this is also Fy. Okay? So, we have here, we can solve using this triangle, we can solve Fx and Fy using this triangle. Pero ang problema natin, kunwari gusto kong malaman si Fy or Fz, dapat dalawa kasi ang given, the angle and the hypotenuse. Okay? The hypotenuse of this darker triangle. So, in that case, how can I find the hypotenuse of this darker triangle?
F cos 30 po.
Okay, so F cos 30, this is the way I name this one na kasi nasa plane to ng X and Y, so I can call this as X and Y, pero you can call this in any term, okay? In some books, they call this as F prime, pinangalanan ko lang siyang Fxy para lang malaman ko that this is the hypotenuse on the plane of X and Y, okay? So, kanina sinabi sa akin, we can solve that. So shortcut ko na ha, Fxy would be F 1, sabi nyo, cosine 30 degrees. Bakit siya cosine? Because this is the adjacent of 30 degrees. Ang ginagamit kong triangle to solve Fxy would be the adjacent of this lighter, okay, lighter triangle, okay? So, in that case, can you give me what is the answer for Fxy? So, that is 80 pound cosine 30 degrees. Okay, good. So, dapat ganyan talaga yung sagot nyo sa akin. 40 square root of 2. Tama ba ako narinig? O 3?
3 po.
Square root
3 po.
3 pound. Okay. So, meron na tayong Fxy. So, hindi natin siya pwedeng gawing decimal kasi Hindi siya ang final answer, okay? Hindi yan ang final kailangan natin. So, let's go back to this darker triangle, okay? Now, let's solve fx muna. So, fx is the adjacent of 40 degrees. So, that will be fx is equal to fxy, the hypotenuse, then cosine 40 degrees. What will be the answer of fx?
53.07, ma'am.
Okay, ito pwede na tong 53.07 kasi ito na may last part natin. Final answer. How about for Fy? Fy is equal to Fxy again, the hypotenuse of the darker triangle then. That is opposite of 40, so that is sine 40 degrees. And that will be Fy is
44.53 po.
44.53.
44.53. Good. And that is pound. And the final answer, so kailangan natin mag-construct ng Cartesian form kasi yun yung tinatanong. So the final answer of our F1 will be Fx is 53.07 I hat. So we will check. Ito yung problema. Actually, ito yung problema pag ang kinukuha nyo is components. Okay? Pag gumamit kayo ng components, aware kayo kung nasaan siya, kung anong sign niya. Okay? So Fx, positive, so dapat positive. While for Fy, that is 44.53 J hat, then, okay, ang Fy natin is, ano si Fy natin? Positive, negative?
Negative po.
Negative dapat, okay? So, hindi negative yung lumalabas, pero if ang tanong ko is, what is the magnitude of the components, I can accept this one. Okay? Sabi ko nga sa inyo, pag magnitude, usually that they are positive. Pero pag finorm na natin sila into an equation, dapat you are aware that our vector is on negative y, so therefore you have to use negative sign on our equation. Okay? Even though your Fy here didn't dictate that it should be negative, but you have to place negative. Again, presence of mind in answering this type of problem. And lastly, for F1Z, that is 40 pound. Okay, that is K hat, and that will be positive, negative.
Positive.
Positive po, ma'am.
Positive. Okay, positive siya kasi ang ating FZ is aligned on positive Z. Okay? Kung nasa baba siya, naka-align siya dito, so it will be negative. So for this case, this is positive. And parenthesis, do not forget, this is physics, so do not forget the pound. So this is your final answer. Okay? So ang hinihingi ko lang dun sa seat work nyo is you have to determine the Cartesian vector. Tama ba ako? Yun lang. Okay, yun lang. So, sa exam nyo, if I will ask you to find what is the unit vector, okay, so you know the formula. Okay, what will be the formula to extract the unit vector from here?
I-divide po sa magnitude.
Di-divide po sa magnitude.
Okay, so kailangan nyo munang kunin yung magnitude, pero given lagi ang magnitude niya na. Okay, so that is 53.07 divided by 80. What would be the answer?
0.66 po.
How about negative 44.53 divided by 80 minus negative
Negative
0.55.
0.56 po.
55, 56.
56 po pala, ma'am.
Okay, 56, good. And what will be the, for 40 divided by, okay, that is
0.5.
positive 0.5. Okay, that will be how to extract the unit vector. And from this, actually, ito na yung pinaka-problema. Kung dito nag-round off na kayo, dito naka-round off na. Pag pinakuha ko sa inyo ang alpha, beta, and gamma, yan, naka-round off na din. So, how will you get for the alpha, beta, and gamma here? What will be the formula? Okay, R cosine 0.66. Good. Okay, can you give me the answer?
48.70 po.
48.70. Okay, let's go to beta. How about R cosine negative 0.56? So dapat this is higher than 90. What will be the answer?
124.06 po.
Okay, 0.6. And lastly, gamma will be R cosine 0.5.
60 degree po.
Okay, 60 degrees. So that will be your These are the unit vectors and these are the directional angles. Okay? So, okay. Now, this one, ito na yung may slope. Okay? So, if we will get this slope, actually, okay, para lang makasolve tayo, so kailangan natin kunin muna yung slope. Okay? Unahin muna natin itong transverse angle. So, if I will solve this one, I will be solving, this is, parallel siya, okay? This will be our Fy kasi itong line, itong vector ko is lying along Fy, okay? And this one naman on this side, okay, will be, this vector is parallel to the x-axis. So this is Fx. Ito yung nagkamali dun sa previous classes ko na hindi lahat ng cosine Fx. Okay? Hindi lahat ng cosine ay x. Hindi lahat ng sine ay y. Nakadepende sila sa angle. Okay? Nakadepende. If it's adjacent of the angle of this transverse angle adjacent sa Fy, therefore cosine. Okay? If this one, okay, if this is the opposite of the angle, so therefore sine. Hindi pwedeng nakatatak sa isip nyo na pag y, cosine, ay pag y, sine lagi, pag fx, cosine. Lagi tayong magkakamali doon. Okay? So, let's start with this one. Okay, so let's get the angle first. Okay, angle muna. So, meron tayong, so that is 5, 4, 3. Okay, we are getting the angle. So, again, pwedeng gamitin nyo so, katawa, kahit ano doon, pero you will just come up with the same answer. So, we are looking for this angle, the transverse angle, the angle between 5 and 4. Kung nakikita nyo, the angle between 5 and 4. So, that will be, I will be using arctangent. If I'm using arctangent, so arctangent, that is opposite over, di ba, TOA, opposite 3 over 4. So, what will be the angle?
36.87, ma'am.
Okay, 36.87. In our case, let's try to use this one. Okay? So, alam nyo na yung transverse angle natin is 36.87. Let's try to solve. Okay? Now, ang problema in solving this one, okay, pag gusto nyo unahin si fx and fy, hindi kasi natin paalam si fxy. Ito, yung hypotenuse ng ating plane. So, this is fxy. So, this one is fxy. Okay? So, kailangan natin muna hanapin yan. So, what will be fxy? That will be fxy is equal to, ang gagamitin natin yung darker. Okay? That will be
F cos 45.
f cos 45.
45.
Okay? So, that will be 50 pound cosine 45. By the way, bakit ko sinusolve to? Again, same reason pa rin. Ang step 1 natin, ang formula niyan is this one pa rin. Okay? Ganito pa rin ang aking, wala yung 1 na fx, I hat, plus fy, j hat, plus fz, k hat. Okay? Yan pa rin yung ating formula to get the Cartesian vector. Okay? Kaya ako nagsusolve ng ganito. Okay? So, this one, what will be the answer of fxy?
25 square root of 2.
Okay, square root of 2. Good. So that is, gagamitin natin yan later. Pero roughly, this is in decimal.
35.36.
35.36. Tama ba ako narinig?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 35.36 pound. Now, that is for fxy. Actually, this is also the answer for, since 40, ano to, tama ba? 45 degrees, this is also the fz. Am I right? fz then is 25 square root of 2 pound or roughly 35.36 pound. Tama ba? Kasi,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, kasi si fz, okay. So, shinortcut ko lang. So, fz, that will be f sine 45. Okay? Nagkataon lang yan kasi 45 degrees ang angle. Okay? Pero in your example, dapat sinolve nyo to. Okay? So, meron na tayong fz, meron na tayong fxy, pwede na natin isolve si fx. Fx muna tayo. Now, again, since opposite si fx, please use sine. Okay? That is the relationship of your theta, the transverse angle, to your fx. And that will be, ang gagamitin natin dito is yung 25 square root of 2 pound kasi hindi tayo mag-round off kasi that's not yet the final answer. Sine, okay, 36.87. Mag-round off na tayo dito. Okay, so what will be the answer? Can you give me the answer, babe?
21.10.
Okay, malayo siya sa sagot ko. Can you do this? Okay. Ganito gawin na.
21.21 po.
21.21 dapat. Tama ba? Okay.
Opo.
Ang sagot dapat is 21.21. Okay? Pero pwede nyo itong gawin na. So, sine, then, balik kayo sa arctangent. So, yung angle, instead na 36.87, yung mano-mano mo na yung answer ng arctangent 3/4, then, dun yung palang isine. What will be the answer? Is it the same?
Same, ma'am.
Okay, the same lang. So, at least the same. Okay, so that will be fx. Meron na tayong fx. Okay, so let's go to fy. Fy naman is just the cosine. So, fxy, cosine angle. So, that is 25 square root of 2 pound cosine 36.87. What will be the answer?
28.20.
28.28, right?
Yes, po.
Or, actually, may ano to eh, square root yata to eh. Itong 21.21 pound, parang ang sagot namin kanina is
15 square root of 2 lang.
Okay, tama.
15 square
Ito rin, actually ito rin, Fy will be, what will be the answer?
20 square root of 2 po, ma'am.
25 square root of 2 pound cosine 36.87 is 28.28 or 20 square root of 2. Tama ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, kumpleto na. Meron na tayong fx, meron na tayong fy, meron na rin tayong fz. Let's go now for our force. Cartesian vector. So that is, okay. So since this is a final answer, ang gagamitin ko yung decimal na 21.21 pa, I hat. Okay, 28. I will be using 28 here kasi this will be the final answer on your seat work, J hat. Again, presence of mind, kailangan natin i-determine yung ating sign. Kung tama ba to? Ito yung laging... Okay, I will be writing first yung mga magnitude, then babalikan ko. Teka, 35.36. 0.36 K hat. Okay, let's check. Ang ating x ay positive, negative.
Negative
Fx,
po.
negative. Okay, yan yung ating. Fy, positive, negative.
Positive po.
Positive. Again, mano-mano ang paglagay natin. Z, positive, negative.
Positive.
Positive po.
Positive. So, therefore, our answer will be negative 21.21 I hat plus 28.28 J hat plus 35.36 K hat, and that is pound. So, this is for number 2. Now, if we will extract, okay, if I'm going to ask you to give me the unit vector, what will be the unit vector? Definitely, ang gagamitin nyo as much as possible is yung naka-square root, okay? So, can you give me the formula for unit vector na ginamit natin kanina?
Di-divide lang ulit sa ano.
Okay, sa magnitude, yes.
Magnitude.
So that will be, ang gagamitin nyo yung naka-square root ha. So that will be 15 square root of 2 divided by 50. What will be the answer? 0.40, may radical?
Meron, ma'am. 3 square root of 2 all over 10.
Okay, good. Then that is I hat. Okay? Pero pag if this is final answer, ang ibibigay nyo sa akin, kunwari, give me the Cartesian vector, check ito. Give me the unit vector, ang ibibigay nyo sa akin is yung
0.42 po.
42. Remember, this is negative. Okay, presence of mind, minsan nakakalimutan natin. Then, this one is yung 28. Ang equivalent ni 28 is 20 square root of 2 divided by 50. What will be the answer?
2 square root of 2 all over 5.
Okay, and in decimal,
0.57 po.
0.57. How about this one? Itong 35.36 is 25 square root of 2 divided by 50. What will be in radical?
Square root of 2 all over 2.
What is square root of 2 over 2 in decimal? That will be
0.71 po.
0.7. Again, if I ask you only the unit vector, kung ang tanong ko is unit vector, you will give me this. Yung naka-des. Pero if I didn't ask you to give me the final answer, ito yung gagamitin nyo to use the alpha, beta, and gamma. Okay? So, sasagutan naman natin yung alpha. For alpha, that is our cosine. And do not use to me the negative 0.42. What you're going to use is our cosine negative 3 square root of 2 over 10. That will be, what will be alpha?
115.10 po.
Okay, 115.10. And that is for alpha. How about for beta? That will be our cosine 2 square root of 2 over 5. So, what is beta?
55.55 po.
55.55. Ito, nag-round off na tayo. And dito na lang yung gamma, ha? So, that will be gamma is r cosine. And that will be, this is square root of 2 over 2. Okay? So, what will be the gamma?
45 po.
45.
Okay. So, these are the Cartesian vector, the unit vector, and the directional angles. Okay? So, pag hinanap ko siya, pag tinanong ko siya sa exam, be careful with the sign. Okay? So, if we will check, tama yung ating alpha kasi nasa negative x siya. Okay? So, lastly is this. Okay? I believe F1 is in between negative x and positive y. Okay? So, now, si F2, of course, definitely hindi siya transverse angle, okay? Si F2, hindi siya transverse and azimuth angle. Yung 60 degrees dito, what will be? Is this alpha, beta, gamma,
Alpha
theta,
po.
or phi? Okay,
Alpha
so
po.
Alpha
alpha.
po.
How about 45?
Beta.
Beta
Beta.
po.
How about 120?
Gamma po.
Gamma. So therefore, we will not use the idea of transverse and the azimuth angle for F2. Now, kung may alpha, beta, and gamma, and meron akong magnitude, laging may magnitude, what will be the formula that you're going to use to F2? Are you also going to use this one? This one, ito. Yung ginamit natin, this one. Are you going to use this as your formula?
No po.
Definitely no. Okay, can you give me what is the formula for F2? The magnitude, okay, the magnitude F times the unit vector U. Okay, so kasi may magnitude, then kailangan natin hanapin yung unit vector. Dalawa ang formula natin ng unit vector. Yung isa nakadepende kay Cartesian vector, yung isa naman nakadepende kay sa mga alpha, beta, and gamma. Hindi natin gagamitin yung una, definitely. We will use the second one. Okay, you know that F and the unit vector we're going to use is,
Cosine
that is
alpha.
cosine alpha,
I hat.
I hat,
All over
Plus
5.
cosine.
ano all
Plus
over,
Cosine
plus
beta.
Cosine
cosine
beta.
beta,
J
J
hat
hat.
po.
j hat,
Plus
plus
cosine gamma K
Cosine
hat.
gamma, k hat. Walang all over pag may cosine. Ang may all over lang pag may components. Okay? So, okay, again, si unit vector, hindi ko siya isosolve ng solo. Okay? Idediretso ko siya ng ganito. Okay? Para ma-lessen yung ating rounding off. So, what we're going to do is 500 Newton agad. Then, cosine alpha is 60. Cosine 60 j hat plus cosine,
I hat po, ma'am.
okay, I hat, sorry. Cosine, what's beta? 45, tama ba ako? Okay, beta j hat. Then plus, okay, plus 2 ha. The formula is plus. Then later on, lalabas yung negative siya kasi 120. Okay, pero pag dito sa formula plus, okay, lalabas siyang negative later on because nasa negative z siya. Okay, so let's go. 500 cosine 60, what will be the answer?
250 po.
250. Positive, negative. This is for checking lang. No?
Positive po.
Fx. Positive. Good. Kasi nasa positive x. What is 500 cosine 45?
353.55 po.
353.55. And that would be j hat. Positive, negative.
Positive po.
Positive. Kasi less than 90 yung kanyang angle. And what is 500 cosine 120?
Negative 250 po.
Okay, dun lalabas yung negative, okay? Kung ni-negative nyo to at ang lalabas is negative, ang sagot nyo na dito is positive, which is wrong, okay? So that it will be negative 250 K hat, and that is Newton. Okay, so that will be the answer for F2. Okay, sa F1, same process yung ginawa natin, 60 degrees transverse angle and get. Okay, ang F1 natin is negative. This is 75 square root of 2. Pero ganun pa rin yung 106 din. 0.07 J hat plus 259.81 K hat. And that will be Newton. Okay? So, same process. Ang pag-solve nito yung same na ginawa natin sa number 1 and 2. Kinuha natin yung components. So, usually, ganun kasi yung way to get the Cartesian vector if there is a transverse and the azimuth angle. Okay?